a bunch of things, and I'm excited to bring this to you. So I always start this the same way. So people, I've gotten more successful over the years, and people always ask like, how can I build it from my audience from scratch right now? I can tell you that like this is the presentation that always brings me back because I remember this guy. So like my launches generally reach like 25,000 or 50,000. We have one right now that's about to be at 14,000 for our Substack book.
Yes.
But like there were days a little while ago at
There's
this
a
point.
little lip at the end of the front door handle that makes it stick out.
Now, can
So
everyone mute yourself?
actually
Or
the
Chelsea, can you
straight
mute
down.
everyone?
We would need like a longer,
Yeah, I can't.
whatever that bar is,
Yes, I will do that.
Cool.
block bar.
All right. So there,
That's where it is.
uh,
That's where it is. It's over there.
or make me a
Sorry, Russell.
co-host and I will
I'm
mute.
yeah, I'm
Can you
looking for how to mute everybody. I'm sorry about that.
You have to do it you have to do it individually.
Oh.
Um, it's like neck on the participants. There's a thing that's like put video and a little mute button and a little and you can. Uh, I can't mute anyone because you're the host.
Oh, I've got it. All righty, I'll work on that now.
Cool, awesome. All right. So this is the original. This is OG Russell right here. When I was before I had an audience, before I knew what I was doing, before becoming an expert or guru in whatever the thing is that I am. I remember these days still, and this presentation brings me back there. This was the first successful thing that I ever did, which is we brought a book. We were testing out with a publisher and we brought it to San Diego Comic Con in 2013 and like we sold out of 75 copies. And like I was over the moon, like 75 copies of a book. Like the publisher was happy, I was happy. Um, so I want you to go to not be this guy, to be this guy, and then be the guy who is continually found more and more success in bookstores and libraries and Kickstarter, on retailers. And what really changed for me was learning the power of leveraging my fan base and your fan base, and basically using platforms to help me leverage my message to get it out to more and more people and to make sure that I had a fan base that was ready to buy from me. Once you do that, like that's the whole game. The whole game is like leveraged assets. The bigger your mailing list is, the bigger the pool of people you have access to that are excited to buy your books, the better you're going to do. And the more stable your income as well. So I guess I have one question. I don't ask a ton of questions, but how many of you can name three things about your ideal customer? That is the person who's going to buy your books, who costs the least to acquire, it's the lowest customer acquisition cost, has the highest lifetime value. Like, is there anyone out there that could tell me three things about them? Chelsea, I'm not I don't have access to the chat pane. So if there is anyone out there, okay, or if you like no, like it's okay if you don't. Like most people don't, 98% of people don't. Um but like to me, like the game is knowing your customer and then being able to find them and replicate them. Is there anyone out there who knows their customer? Anyone who was brave enough to share?
Tom is saying one or maybe two things about the customers. Gonzalo is saying he knows his customers enjoy comics, have disposable income, and use the internet regularly. And then Lisa's saying definitely couples, couples in trouble, and couples in conflict.
Awesome. So everything you guys listed were demographic data. Demographic data is almost useless. It is not useless because you use it for ads, but like what you are looking for, the biggest thing that will predict whether you can have a rabid fan base is, do you understand the psychographics of your customer? So these are not the who, what, where, when. These are the why someone buys, what they represent inside, like what kind of things that drive them. And so when I do this presentation, almost always I hear people, if they do know what their customer is, they know the demographic data, and that's okay. It's not bad to know demographic data, but I have customers from 10 to 110 that like the thing that represents them is this bee. You can see it back there also. That's Melissa the wannabe. She's our mascot that represents the psychographic data of our customers who are rebellious, creative, artistic, practical, sarcastic, macabre. Like they are no nonsense people. Like they want to one of my big taglines for my career is like laugh at death because a lot of my stuff is about death mythology. We are so much about psychographics that this is in every email. If you guys are on my email list for Wannabe Press, like you probably have seen this every time I send an email out. This email goes out as well. This on our about page. It represents everything about our company. And if a lot of people find it very hard to find demographic data, or there's not a good through line of demographic data, but like in general, you probably have a psychographic profile that if you could pull that out would really help would really help narrow down your ideal audience. And let's talk about that part. So like this is a few step process that again I just updated last night. Tom, who joined me yesterday in our talk with Gina, probably will hear a lot of these things again. But like the number one thing you have to do to build a fan base is know who you're trying to gather. And this is also my spiciest take about a lot of people have a lot of feelings about this presentation, but everybody has a brand, including your mother, including your dog, including Chelsea's wonderful dog and my wonderful dogs. Like they all have a brand because branding is basically what someone associates with you. So if you have like a kindly grandmother who like bakes cookies, like that is a brand. If you have a rock and roll grandmother who goes to campaign rallies or like goes to punk rock clubs, like that is their brand. The question is, what does that brand represent? And I always use the same brand analogy, which is Abercrombie and Fitch. Most people know Abercrombie and Fitch. Apparently, they're making a huge comeback these days versus Hot Topic. So this is Hot Topic. This is Abercrombie and Fitch. And you can see there's a pretty big difference about the kind of stuff that these two brands are sharing. One of them is like very gothy, very like counterculture, and the other one is more like Starbucks and Frappuccino. But like they're both selling, like there's jeans, they got jeans. There's shirts, they got shirts. Like this is they could even be targeting the same age group, but they're targeting a different spirit. And so you can see that in Hot Topic recently rebranded, but like 4 years for me, this is Hot Topic and this is Abercrombie and Fitch because like they were so distinct. They've gotten kind of a little bit more watered down and muddied over the years, but like it's very clear the kind of thing you'll find in Hot Topic, and you probably won't find much of the same things in Abercrombie and Fitch, if anything. And this doesn't just happen with brands. This also extends to books. So these are two of my dear friends. They both write romance. That is about where the similarities end. One of them writes historical, sweet romance, and the other one writes paranormal romance. So it's paranormal romance versus contemporary romance. It's sweet versus spicy. It's romantic comedy versus romance. But both of these like have a brand. And what I mean by how you can know is, do you know the kind of person who would like RJ's book? Do you know the person who would like Deborah's book? If you can picture somebody in your mind who shops at Hot Topic versus shops at Abercrombie and Fitch, like that is what we're trying to design, like an archetype of that person. Again, not necessarily the age of a person or any of that information, but like the feelings that you're going to evoke. And I should also say, these two people, like somebody could love both of these books, but usually, like they're going to have a vibe of what they feel, what they want to feel. And that is going to drive them to one of these at any moment in their life. I personally like both of their books, but like there is a time and place and energy for an RJ Blaine book, and there's a time, place, and energy for a Deborah Holland book in my mind. So, a couple of things about a brand. A good brand is going to attract the right people and repel the wrong ones. There are things that I probably have said in the last 10 or 15 minutes that some of you are like, I'm leaving. This is all the wrong energy. And other people who are like, yes, everything that you're saying is right. And then in the middle, there's a lot of people that are like, it's fine. It's fine. Like, I'm probably going to learn something. Like, I don't know how I feel right now. And a good brand is meant to repel and attract people, almost be a magnet. And a lot of people, a lot of authors tell me that they do not like branding. And I always look at them and say, but why? Like, this is the cheapest, easiest marketing to get right. Like, if you get branding right, a person that comes to your page will know immediately they're in the right place. They'll know immediately what kind of books you make. They'll know immediately what kind of a newsletter you're going to send, and they're going to either make a choice to learn more or not. If you don't get branding right, you could do tons and tons and tons of marketing, and you're going to lose people really quickly because they're not going to know what they're getting. Like they're not going to know. And when people don't know for sure what they're getting, they're probably going to be a no. So, if you get this branding part right, you will be able to very clearly send signals to the right people and also send signals to the wrong people. And sending signals to the wrong people aren't bad because if I don't like RJ's books, which I do, I probably can say, but you know who would like this? Chelsea, Tom. Like I'm going to send Tom here because like this is exactly their thing, or I'm going to buy this as a gift. And as long as you're getting to that point, people are going to like you're in a good place. But it is easy. It is the easiest part of this to get right, and also the thing that most people don't do. So they go off and they do interviews, or they have webinars, or they like do guest posts for somebody, and but like they don't have a easily definable brand. So once they get to that, once people see them and like them, they go to their site and they're like, oh, I have no idea what I'm getting. So I'm bouncing. I'm gonna find something that I know where I'm at. So how do you learn about your brand? There's a couple of reasons. There's a couple of ways. I actually like to reach out to people and interview them. If you're going to interview that, let's say you have no audience and you want to find people to interview, these are my interview rules. You were looking for somebody who you have known for a while, who was in your circle, but not close to you. The goal here is to find somebody who doesn't have a motivated reason to lie to you for your best interest. So like your mom is not going to tell you why she likes your brand. Doesn't know, but like your friend from high school who's for some reason has like been around for a long time and just like keeps replying to you, they have no intrinsic reason to be around you. So like they would be like a good person to interview and kind of see what kind of vibes you exhibit. Also, watching people's behavior as they are online. If you know somebody in your audience is somebody that like likes your books or would like your book, find out what other things they are liking. Like go and search through somebody's a like page and see if there's other things that you can like line up that are like your work. And then my favorite way is just to like throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. The reason that I like that way is people don't lie when you put something in their face, but like they might lie to themselves and say, I like that. But that like does not mean buy. And what you are looking for is buyer intent or buying words. These are things like when you post a picture of your upcoming book title, someone goes, how can I buy that? Where can I buy that? Why is it not available now? Like, how can I pre-order? Where is the pre-order link? They are people that like will click on the link instead of just look at the picture and type a response. They're not just saying, this looks great. This is ideal. Like good job. They're saying, I want to buy this. Why is it? My favorite is, why is this not available right now? Like that is my favorite buyer word, a buyer intent sentence that tells me that like I'm on the right track with the right people. Um, Chelsea, I'm going to go on to number two, but do we have anything from number one that like is relevant that I may have that I may need to go over a second time?
I know, just some good commentary, but no questions yet.
Awesome. All right, cool. Okay. So that part is pretty similar to how I've been doing things for the past 15 years. Here's where we're going to start getting a little spicier and a little less comfortable. Because here's the truth about audience building. And when I say audience building, I mean like on a platform. So that would be Substack, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, your own email list, like all conventions, whatever it is. Like there used to be these monocultures like Facebook, where like everyone was on Facebook. But the more and more and more that the internet has gotten fragmented, the more you can build an audience anywhere. You can build it in any format. That means video, audio, blogging, or written word. And like it's they're all the platforms are all pretty much the same. Like the goal of all of these platforms, the entirety of audience building and platform building is to find ways to get people to your platform, so your email list, your website, your community, by using the algorithms to your advantage. Now, this is probably the biggest thing people get wrong about audience building. A good platform is one where when you post, your network grows organically. When you get like everything you do on the platform, your network and your audience grows. You see followers happening, you see like more views, you see growth. A good platform makes you feel good being on it. I know that's like wild to think about a platform feeling good, but like people legitimately have fun on TikTok. My friend Jamie loves TikTok. Like I love Substack. Like I understand intuitively how it works. It feeds me and it allows me to, and when I'm on that platform, my email list, my audience, my network grows. So when you're thinking about whether a platform is right for you, you need to know kind of what the platform works, like what gets shared a lot, what stuff are the most valuable, like what format do they like, like TikTok's for short form video, YouTube's for longer form video, Instagram's probably for reels. And also like how can you use it to bring people to your own website email list? Something like Facebook might work for your content strategy, but it does not work if you can't post links to it. So you can't really post links on Facebook. They will completely suppress links. Twitter too. And most platforms, it's really hard to actually post anything that will get them off platform into your platform, as opposed to something like Substack, where like they have a subscribe link right in your every post on Notes, which is their social media platform. You can subscribe. So this is not a post for Substack, but it is what I want you to break is this: I have to be everywhere. And the idea is, do not fight the algorithm. So I tell people about Substack all the time. I am giving Substack 10% of every dollar that I make. And for that 10%, I do not want to fight it. I do not want to fight that algorithm. If I'm going to be developing content for a platform, then I need the algorithm to work with me. And if you are finding that you have headwind on a platform, you should abandon it. Maybe not immediately. Maybe like I'm not saying try it for one day and then like run away from it, but like if you're giving it your best effort, if you're trying for a couple of months and you're finding that you're getting no growth or you're getting anti-growth or like things don't feel good, you should throw it away and find something to replace it that is better. You should only consider being places that help leverage your work. So, what do I mean by leverage? Leverage is the more you have, the more of, for instance, an audience, or the more work you have, or the more content you have, you do less work. So when you only have one book, it's really hard to make a profit on one book. When you have 50 books, it's really easy to make a profit on 50 books, especially if it's in the same series. Maybe it's not really easy, but like it's a lot easier. When you have 10 people on your email list, it's a lot harder to do work, to make that work than when you have 40,000 people on your email list. It is a lot easier when you to do work when you have 100 people pledging to your Patreon than when you have one. So to me, the entire secret of publishing is creating leveraged brand, like creating a leverage brand, creating leverage series, leverage format, leverage pen names, leverage so that over time it becomes easier for you to do this work. And I know for, like you might be looking at this saying, well, duh, Russell, like, of course that's the thing. But like, this is something I've never heard one person say in publishing that like the only thing that matters is creating leverage. And the only way to create leverage is to use platforms that allow you to do to do less work and get more out of them. It is the only thing that matters really to building an audience, which means you do not have to be everywhere. You do not even have to be one place if you can't create leverage anywhere. But like your goal is to only be on places and continue on places that help you build leverage so that every day is easier to do the work. This isn't my spiciest take, Chelsea. So I kind of want to stop here and see if anyone has anything to say about this
I see
before
a
I
lot of people clutching their pearls. Everybody's worried. I think one of the things that I really want to highlight is Mick said, wow, I was thinking too broad on who my customer would be. I need to narrow the target to have more descriptive psyche. And I think that's so important too. And I think the leveraging can really go hand in hand when you know exactly who you're talking to.
Yeah, if you know exactly who you're talking to and how to create leverage from them, you could find 50,000 of the same kind of person that likes the same thing. You could do it 10 times. Like once you know how to create a leverage brand, you can continue to do that. Like this is why serial entrepreneurs just keep building businesses because like once you can figure this part out, you could build every pen name the same way. You could build like businesses outside of publishing. You can build different kinds of publishing. You could build a publishing company. But like we are finding the person in part one that and now we're creating leverage by finding a lot more of them and just like stacking them. It's kind of like on one side of the teeter-totter. Like you just keep stacking them on one side of the teeter-totter, and suddenly you're like you can't do a launch that doesn't raise money. Okay, so let's talk about prioritization because the next part of this is like, God, Russell, that sounds a lot. And I don't have a lot of money. I have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of time. I'm already burnt out writing books like why, God, why? So here's my quick prioritization. Uh, create an Eisenhower matrix. That's not on here, but like just look up Eisenhower matrix, figure out what actions you need to do, want to do, like to do, hate to do. What needs to be done and drives value, what needs to be done and doesn't drive value, what doesn't need to be done and drives value, what doesn't what does need to be done and doesn't drive value. And if things don't work, blow them up. Like just they are not they like maybe not tomorrow, but like they are out of your they are out of there. And from there, you should have some ability to build back up. Like we're blowing up everything, and then every quarter, so you have 4 quarters a year, you pick one platform or one thing to add. And that and you need to focus on it for 3 months. You really need to focus on it for 6 months just to see if it's good. But like, if you have space, find one platform. Maybe it's TikTok. Maybe it's your email list. Maybe it's Substack. I don't know what it is. And your goal is to figure out how that platform works and do every single thing that people say to succeed on that platform and see if one, it works. B, it feels good to you. And C, you feel like you can keep doing it over time. So people ask, why aren't you on TikTok? I don't want to create short form video. I have tried to create short form video. Like, I don't want to do it. Maybe there's a time where I'll have enough leverage in my business that I can hire somebody to do that. And then sure, it would be nice to be on TikTok. But like, I am not doing it. I am not doing Instagram. I'm not doing any of those things. I know because I have tried all of those platforms and like wildly failed or wildly hated my experience doing it. I didn't hate the people on that platform, but I did not like it. It did not feel good to me, and or it did not work for my business the way that I needed to work. Conventions are one that like really like I doubled down for years on conventions and did all of them. So when you pick one platform every quarter, you're going to say, I'm going to do Substack this quarter. I'm going to do Kickstarter this quarter. I'm going to do email marketing this quarter, whatever that is. And after 3 months, you say, well, did I get traction? Was it good? If it is, then you just continue to pick that platform and double down on it the next quarter. You can double down on one platform forever. You can double down. I've doubled down on Substack for 3 quarters before I moved to advertising and figuring out like this daily newsletter. But like, if you have very little energy, or if you have a lot of energy, to me, the best thing you can do is pick one thing and just do it the way that they say. Don't fight it. If you're going to fight it, don't pick that platform. Like, don't try and like hack it until you know kind of the ins and outs of it. And then you can like go a little bit deeper, but you want to go real deep to see if it's working for you. You do not want to do like a platitude cursory thing because then you'll do what everyone does, which is like, I've got accounts everywhere and nothing grows. If you think about a balloon, most people try to pop a balloon by putting it on a bed of nails, and like that's very hard. If you pick one nail and you jab it into a balloon, it will pop very, very quickly. So, long story short of this part two, we are only looking for platforms and partners that help us build leverage. That is it. I didn't mention partners, but like if you're doing like friends of yours or other authors, like if you're doing JVs, if you're doing things like this, like I am here partially because I like Chelsea and I like the team there, but like they are great partners. Like they have a lot of people that like in our audience that we would like to come to our conference. I would like them to come to our conference. Like there's just so much leverage that can be built by like working with the right partners. But I am not going to go on the home and gardening network because like even though they have 100 times more people, probably zero of them are ones that should come to our conference in March. So like we are looking for platforms and partners that help us build leverage. And then we are stopping using things that either you hate or don't work. It does not matter if something you do works and you hate it. If you hate something and you have to keep doing it, that is a job. And like I promise you, almost any job you get will pay you more than being an author. Now, I can't say that without saying this. No matter what platform you choose, it can all be taken away from you unless you have a home base. I had my Facebook account deleted by Facebook March 2023, and then magically reinstated in June 2024. And I have no idea why either of those things happened. Meanwhile, I also got suspended by by Flowdesk, my email provider. I was able to so on Facebook, I had no access to any of my friends or anything for 15 months. Meanwhile, on Flowdesk, when I got my account suspended, within 24 hours, I was up on ConvertKit with the same email list, sending the same emails in the middle of a lunch. Nothing was taken away from me except my ability to use that one platform. So no matter what platform that you're using, unless you are using it to build a home base for yourself, it can all be taken away from you. So there's a couple of ways to build your home base. Every time you put out a blog or a vlog or a podcast, you show people how to follow you. Whenever you do a book launch, like especially at the beginning, you should be starting your book launches on something like Kickstarter or your own website, or at least offering pre-order perks for people that order early so that they are coming to your website and getting on your email list. Sharing with other authors, doing promotions with other places, joining groups where your audience hides out, and like trying to find ways to be like very pointed, doing advertising, curating, networking, and partnering liberally. Okay, so all of this stuff, the number one thing that I've learned, number one thing, Chelsea, you can sum up every bit of my marketing in this one sentence. Nobody likes to start a thing. Everyone wants to join a thing, whether that is a virtual conference, whether that is a anthology project, whether that is an in-person conference, whether that is, no matter what it is, you can punch way above your weight class as far as like your success level as an author if you just start cool things and invite other people to it. I cannot tell you how many podcasts that I've been on that had 5 viewers or maybe even no viewers. I don't even ask. If someone asks me to be on a podcast, I will do it because and that's how my podcast was. The same thing with like when I did virtual summits, like all sorts of authors I should never have had access to agreed to be in my virtual summit because like not my recent virtual summit, but like my first virtual summits, because everyone wants to join a thing. They all want to be part of the cool crowd. And generally, when you're starting a thing, you're not part of that cool crowd. And an easy way to join that cool crowd is to make something cool where all of those cool kids want to be around each other. And then if it's on your website, then you can get the emails. I got like every big success that I've had was either started or immediately followed me doing something like this. So the next thing people ask is like, what do you say? I don't know to say on social media. Like I almost hit all these, but I'm just going to go through them really quickly. I used to do an email blast every week called 5 Cool Things, which is just 5 things I found around the internet. If you go to authoresque.com, Chelsea and I were talking about my daily, which shares 3 stories that I found on the internet, and it summarizes them. The Freebs was just like a lot of free things that I found, favorite top 10 lists, top 5 lists, lessons that I learned, lead up to launches, backstory. By the way, I'm sending all of this to fiction and nonfiction authors. So like, this is not just like you can send a backstory or a lesson that you learned as a writer to people who like fiction. They not in the same way, but like they love like the juicy stuff about how like things came to be. You can't be as technical with them, but they still like it. Leading up to a launch, just what are you doing now? Little rays of hope of like things, inspiration. I have a friend that just posts like an inspirational message on Facebook every day, and I love seeing it. Doing sales. Here's the biggest part to think about, like what to post. Every single person I've ever met thinks their own life is boring. But that's because they're living it. They know all of the things. Almost nobody knows what you know, and you happen to be one of them. I'm sorry you happen to be the person who's living your life and can't see this, but every single human who has ever existed is fascinating. Every one of them. Like they're doing wild stuff. I've never met someone who, if you spend 15 minutes of them, wasn't doing something interesting. Even the most boring people that are like they like love to crochet, and you're like, oh, well, like tell me about crochet, and suddenly like their eyes light up. I love crochet. I'm not saying people who crochet are boring, but like the traditionally people that are seen as like boring, like they'll love crosswords, or like they'll love gardening, or like there's some topic that they can talk about for an hour. I have never, ever, not one time in my whole life, met someone who was boring. Like they may not have, may not have come across, they may not have come across in a way that was fascinating. I may have not done a very good job of finding what they're passionate about, but I have learned stuff from so many people that I never would have imagined doing that. And like you are way more fascinating than you think. All right, before we start part three, do we have anything else? Do we have any questions here, Chelsea?
No questions, but a lot of good stuff. And I think, let's see, Tom probably owes you something for saying the day I can take a break from I must be everywhere will be a great day indeed. So some shedding some light on don't do it if you hate it and if it doesn't work. A lot of people interested in Substack, so maybe we can talk about that when we have some time at the end.
Sure, sure. All right. So now we've talked about kind of the mechanics of it, like how do you get actual engagement on a platform? This is where everything is new. I literally, before this call, this step 3 used to be deliver consistent quality content. And I completely blew that up. And this is the thing that I think is actually the most important thing now, which is if you want engagement, the number one way to get engagement is to give people the context to understand themselves and communicate with each other better. So, how to get engagement? Like people engage with things that help them create a shared language between themselves and other people in their community. Whether that's a new community that you start, whether that's an author community, whether that's a community of their friends or their school, the way that you can get people excited is to help them create a shared language. So that this would be things like House Lannister, House Stark. Those things mean something. Enneagrams. That is a shared language that everyone who knows Enneagrams, everyone who loves Myers-Briggs knows. Those things are like the sugar rush of like engagement. People engage with things that help them better understand themselves, one, make themselves feel seen, and when they are surrounded by other people that like them and have the same shared language. Okay, this is going to be my spiciest thing. You guys are all going to hate me after this, I know. Writing has nothing to do with you. Nothing. Like you are like the only thing that matters for a reader, really and honestly and truly, is whether your book gives them the ability to see themselves and move through the world better. Like a bio should not be about you, really. It should be about what the reader gets. Your story is only an avatar for them to understand the world better. And to me, most people hear that like that is the most nihilistic thing I've ever heard anyone say. But to me, there's great freedom in that because it means it's not personal. Nothing's personal. Like even the most personal story that I've ever written is not personal. The only reason that people don't read it is because they do not find it a good vehicle for them to understand the world better. So readers don't care about Game of Thrones. They care about which house and character best represent them. People don't care about Star Wars. They care about which lightsaber describes their personality and the nostalgia they feel. The reason people like Star Wars is because they remember going to the movies with their son, brother, father, mother, some other thing. It is about their connection to the material. Nobody actually cares about Enneagrams. They care about how their Enneagram helps them move through the world. Now, I am making a lot of didactic statements. I'm like there are people like people don't only care about which house and character represent them, but they see Game of Thrones as a vehicle to understand the world better, which is why people keep talking about it. Otherwise, they would have put it away and never thought about it again. So, people's favorite books have nothing to do with the words on the page. It has everything to do with them feeling seen. Look at that. I misspelled that thing. Well, that's what you get for doing this at like in a frenzy at night. It has everything to do with feeling seen and giving context to move through the world. So to prove my point, I want you to think about your favorite book. And I want you to think about the last time you described it to someone. And I want to, and then I want you to think about whether it had anything to do with the plot, or it started. This is a book that helped me understand my mother's like cancer diagnosis. This is what helped me understand my abusive relationship. This is what helped me get through high school. This book helped me get through high school. Like all of those things, like are the feeling that people have, that's what they carry with them. If you want to know the books that sustain have that deeply baked in. It is not that it's not about the words on the page or how it is architected. It is about they bake in this ability to be seen. My most popular book is also my most controversial book. People either love it or hate it. And people say one of two things. This has nothing to do with me, and they give it a 1 star. Or this makes me feel seen in a way I've never felt seen before, 5 star. They're the only two reviews that I get. And like, if you are trying to find ways to engage with people, this is like the key that I have found across everything we've done. Like giving people context to go through the world and making them feel seen is how you build a community. It's how you build engagement. It's how you become someone's favorite author. Okay, I just dropped like probably like 10 knowledge bombs on you in like 3 seconds. So I'm going to give you a second to think about that. Think about whether you agree or like now you're like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. Chelsea, do we have any questions about that one section?
Everyone is agreeing with you. I think, it may be a sting to hear that it's not about you, but I agree. I think it's a relief. But yeah, Gonzalez saying absolutely, people don't care about you. They care about how your stuff makes them feel and see themselves. And then added the quote, feeling seen and given context to move through the world. Yep, perfect. This is pure
Yep.
truth. You're right.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right. So now we've figured out how to engage with the people. We know who the super fans are who are going to love your work. Like we like know what platforms we're going to use. And now let's talk about like how we take people from zero to super fan. So there's 3 models. This also, so like if you have seen me ever give this presentation before, 3 and 4 are going to like throw you for a huge loop because like they're very, very different. So I've been talking about the sales funnel, I don't know, 15 years, 100 years, 800 years. I don't know how long I've been doing this, a very long time. The sales funnel is the idea that you need a lot of people at the top of your funnel, and some of those people are going to know you. And once those people know you, some of them will like you, some of them will trust you, and some of them will buy from you. So we all have that uncle we know but don't like, that cousin we like but don't trust because like they're going to take my money and like blow it on the racetrack. Oof, that's too close to home. But we all have that friend we trust, but we don't necessarily give them money because like they like pepperoni pizza and I like anchovy pizza, and they never like our tastes just never quite align, but like they're real trustworthy and I will tell anyone else to hang out with them. And like if I find someone who likes pepperoni, like I'm gonna send them to that friend all of the time. And then we also have that best friend who's like, if you need $20, I'm going to give you $20 because whatever you tell me, you're going to give me something cool. And like that is what we're looking, and those are the people that are buying from you. So like we are looking to fill the funnel with all sorts of people. Like I don't know, like I'm pretty liberal with who I throw in the funnel. Especially if they're like authors or readers. And then those people will trickle down through my automation sequences and my community until like they get at least to the trust. People discount the trust part of this, which is people that get to the part of I trust you, I like you, but I'm not going to buy from you. Because those people can still refer people, recommend people, and also buy gifts. I have a lot of people who buy gifts for like people that they like in their community because they like me, but like I don't necessarily make the kind of books that they read. And like all of that is important. However, this is an incomplete story because a better model would be something like this, which is the bow tie funnel, which is the same. So now we have like the sales funnel and we've tipped it over and it's like the left side of this. So we have attract, nurture, convert, engage, and then these people in here that are buying from you. But then we have this other half that's like, okay, you've bought from me, and we're trying to, this is when we're moving them from like adopter to loyalist to advocate to brand ambassador. We're people are getting more and more excited from our brand. Very rarely is someone going to come and spend $50,000 to you in the first day, unless you like, and even with like a Mercedes. So I had actually, a Mercedes is a great example because I talked to the head of marketing at Mercedes once, and they said, we have a 30-year time horizon. We are trying to find somebody today that is going to buy a Mercedes in 30 years. And so, like, even though they're buying like a $50,000 car, they are building this excitement for a long, 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 way longer than like I was only 10, like when they started marketing to me, I guess. So, like, so we are trying to funnel these people through and make them buy more, but really make them loyal, make them excited, like giving them the shared language, giving them this community, giving them the ability giving them the ability to like feel seen and and make us our work part of their identity. This is though, it's still like a linear graph. I don't like it as much as like this graph, which is about the funnel and flywheel. This is from Monica and my direct sales mastery for authors. This is and a lot of our training, which is Monica has these 10 levels of readers where it goes from like a target audience, which is someone who is doesn't know who you are, to all the way to evangelist. And the idea is your system is a combination of a funnel, which we've talked about, and this flywheel at the bottom. And the flywheel is never ending. So we're usually targeting people through ads or through a opt-in or through something where they can join our community, they can join us, and then they kind of get fed an offer. Buy my book series. Here's why you should like me. Join our community, whatever it is. And they're like learning to become a buyer and whether they should become a buyer. But meanwhile, while that's happening, you have this beautiful flywheel going, which is all about nurturing people. So if you guys are part of the author stack or our like writer MBA communities, you'll see like we just are putting out content pretty consistently and kind of like not necessarily super targeted way. We're giving people chances to like come into our community and like meet with our experts, and we go to these events, and like that is all the stuff we're doing all of the time to kind of just keep building this flywheel and give people the information to know, like, trust us, and like and feel like we are like a good part of their life. Then we augment that by saying we have a Kickstarter right now for this book, how to build a world-class Substack. And so everyone who we're out there talking about that book, and we're bringing people into that funnel, and that leads them into our flywheel that goes forever. So it's really two things. It's this like everlasting gobstopper that like keeps going around forever and ever and ever and ever, and readers come in, they become fans, but they're being augmented by these like sales events where they're like, try this series, come to this event, come to our conference, come to our this. And so there's all of these little offers that are helping funnel people through these funnels and like bring them more and more and more excitement over time. So why do I like this? Like, because it breaks the absolute biggest problem that that I see in the author community all of the time, which is everyone's training you to make a pump. And like, you really need to make a flywheel. So a pump, I don't know if you know it, like a water pump, one that you've probably seen in old movies, they do this. They give you the same action every single time if that you make this. And at the beginning, it feels real easy to make this like pump work, because you're like, wow, I just pump it one time and it gives me a little bit of water. Awesome. Pumping, pumping, pumping. But there's a lot of there's a lot of effort. Even I'm like having effort in doing that. Meanwhile, over here, the thing that is really going to blow your business up is this flywheel, which is like the ability to find people and bring them through your ecosystem and find more and more people with increasingly less and less effort. And what happens here is people see something like build a mailing list, and they'll like, it's impossible to push. It's impossible to push this at the beginning. And like, so they're trying and they're like, I'm done. I'm going to do this pump. And then 5 years later, they're still pumping the same water. Meanwhile, if they had gone through and gotten through a rotation of like getting to 100 subscribers, getting to 1,000 subscribers, and they keep doing this, every flywheel rotation is different. And over time, you're able to just like lightly tap it and it will like give a ton of value. So like with very little effort, my last book launch made me $5,000. And like pretty much when I do a book launch on Kickstarter, it's going to make me at least $5,000. And so like I don't have to do very much anymore. Like if I want my message to get out there, I like know Chelsea and I know a lot of the reps. I know like a lot of the reps at the biggest companies. Like I'd be like, can I do a webinar with you? Can we like partner on something? Do you want to be a part of our like conference? Do you want to do like how can we work together? And over time that network levels up from like, oh, we all have 5 people in our network to, oh, we've all got tens of thousands of people in our network. And it's the same people that want to work with people they like, but that flywheel just gets so much easier over time. And so we are often drawn to the pumps, but like if we put the effort into the flywheel, I'm not saying like maybe at least flywheel with one hand as you're pumping over here, or pump with your foot while you're pushing forward the flywheel over here, because like you do need these like little wins over time, but the more bigger wins are these like big flywheel rotations, and they're almost impossible from where most of you are sitting right now to see. So this is your guide to, this is how you get customers to buy again. You get them to buy again by asking, hey, you bought my last book. Do you want to buy this book? Some of them are just going to be like, yes. By continuing to engage with them, by giving them the context to think about the world, to speak about the world, to feel themselves in your work, to help you give you context to move through the world better, to find other people that are like them, to build that community together, and all of that stuff, like you get credit for, like George R. Martin gets credit for every relationship that was made from the Game of Thrones. The fact that like one of the two Tyrions found themselves, awesome. Like a little piece of that is like credited to George R. Martin, and it helps build the brand. Now that stuff is very hard to get happen at the beginning, but like, hey, I just got someone who got a tattoo of our brand on them, and like I was like, wow, like that's amazing. Like 10 years ago, this brand didn't even exist, and now people are getting it forever tattooed on their body because like it's become a part of their identity. So it is somewhere between 5 and 25 times more expensive to find a new customer than keep an existing one. So if you're just like doing just the flywheel, doing just the funnel, well, if you're doing just the funnel, you're already ahead of like 99.9% of authors. But if you're doing that and then just dumping them into nothing, then like you're going to have to find them all over again. But if you keep aggregating them all in a place, community, like email list, like your website, your blog, like somewhere where you have access to them over time and can port them somewhere else if you want, even if it's like just a federated like Mastodon page, at least you can bring them from one federated social media account to another. Then you're building over time into something that's more and more and more powerful. And then it doesn't matter where you launch, you're probably going to be successful doing whatever. The final thing that I will say is, and this is the final thing that I learned recently, was you want to get experiential with your customers. It does not take a lot of super fans to like We have an author in our community who went horseback riding one year with like her super fans. I know an author who does like a train ride across the US with her like super fans for a few days. I know ones that like she'll travel around the country in a camper van and like does like little events. I have like musicians that I know that stay with like their fans when they go on tour. Like I know people that do their own conferences with their own with like Writer MBA does with like people that are in their fandom. Like the more experiential you can get with your work and the more varied experiences by which people can experience your brand, like the better you're going to be at converting these super fans and finding that loyalty. And the more you can introduce them to each other through these experiences, that is when like now they have friends for life, and that's when you have a customer for life. And the more varied that stuff is, the better you're going to feel about your thing, and the better you're going to be able to express, the more ambassadors you're going to get for your place. And it doesn't take very many. Like there were 3 super fans at this horse riding event. And this author did not have a ton of like fans overall, but she had a ton of super fans. And the reason that she was able to have so many super fans, even though her audience wasn't huge, was because she was so involved in like showing them how to be like doing these experiences, getting them to communicate with each other, and like feeling like her brand was part of their identity. So that's all I got. I was a little bit more than an hour. I was very spicy. It was very different. I hope, except for that one spelling error, I felt like it went pretty well. But like, I'd love to hear any questions you guys have or anything you guys have to think about that.
Thank you, Russell. Thank you so much for everything. This has been a lot. This has been a ton of information, and thank you for everybody who stuck around to listen to it. So a lot of questions about Substack. Actually, we'll start with this one. So one question Michael wants to know is, what is your most controversial book?
Oh, it's called Sorry for Existing. It's about a boy who meets a homeless alien and helps her rebuild her it's not fun. It's not a happy book. The kid's like an abusive relationship with like his grandfather and his father. Like, yeah, see that first like thing when people are like, oh, that's so cute. Like, and
Right.
then I'm
Yeah.
like that's why a lot of them go to the book. And then they find out that like, oh, this is not like a happy, cute uh book. So yeah, that exactly experience is what about 50% of people do with that book.
I immediately felt like a jerk when I smiled at the first line and then you went further into it. So I am that person who, who was like, oh, very cool. Okay, all right. So we've got a lot of questions about Substack, like I said. So Gonzalo wants to know, what do you think about discoverability of only posting on Substack? I believe it's become more social lately.
Uh, I mean, it's hard. This is hard for me because, and we have I put a link in the comments. We have a book on Kickstarter called How to Build Your World-Class Substack. And one of the big perks is a 2-hour masterclass. So check that out. It's just, you can also, or you could go to Kickstarter and just look up how to build the world-class Substack, but it's Claire Venus and I. Um, I so that it's very easy for me to say I don't have any social media now that I have like a big mailing list. I don't know how that would feel if I didn't have an audience already who was willing to find me where I am and like read my work. And I hadn't been doing like, it is doing 15 years of this work that allows me to not have a social media network and still get found and still get asked places. Um, I think that you should go look up Tom Kugler, or Christy Keller, and they do a lot of Substack, or Lucy Werner. They do a lot of like Substack notes training. Um, I think the best thing about Substack is and the most underutilized is doing guest posts and doing.
Mm.
Chelsea, maybe you're old school in the same way that I am. Like, do you remember podding? Do you remember marketing pods? like in the or mid 2020, like 2015s?
No,
Or
I
so
don't.
it's
I'm
like it
sorry.
was like you and five other of your friends in the same genre would like have a Facebook group takeover, or like you
Oh
would like
yeah,
all
sure.
like comment on each other's posts, or like
Uh-huh.
you would like all guest post on each other's like social, or you'd like write posts for each other's social media accounts. Like those are the kinds of things I think drive the most value. And doing like this experiential stuff like doing the virtual summits and like
Mhm.
this is I do mainly virtual summits for nonfiction now, but I started doing virtual summits for our company, WannaCon. It was called WannaCon. It would be people that I liked, people that wrote the same kind of stuff, people that wrote or drew for our books, and we would just like talk about comics for like a whole day. So like, and they would then be on my website, and they would subscribe to our mailing list. We did anthologies where like I would collect like I would do a Kickstarter and we would do like 20 or 40 or 75 creators, and we'd all be launching the same Kickstarter, but like it was on my account. So like I would be the one who was like building the mailing list. And I think like those kind of things are better to think about. Like, how do I build a network with other people who write things and have access to a different segment of the population? So, a good example might be like Lulu has a similar but distinctly different audience than writer MBA. There's an overlap, but like we talk about our businesses, we focus, even if it's the same people, we focus on different, cutting them up differently. So when we come together, there's some people that I recognize. There's a lot of people I don't recognize, and we're both hopefully like building each other's networks as opposed to how most people think about networking, which is, oh, Lulu and all the other printing companies should all, but it's like, no, they're all either competing against each other or like the same segment of the population is interested in all of those things. They're not expanding their brand to these other things. So I think one of the most important things that I learned is to search for people that have dissimilar audiences, which is different but complementary. Claire and I have very different Substack publications, but we both like deal with the growth component of Substack, just like different parts of it. So we were both able to win doing this book and do better than we probably either could have done alone. I don't know if that answers your question. But I think I don't think that you should just post. I think you should probably comment more than you post. But then start thinking about these other things that you can do to gather people in similar audiences or dissimilar audiences and finding ways that you can all collaborate on something together.
Yeah, I think the networking piece feeds into the leverage piece that we talked about, which is so important when you can make those connections and help people do that. And Brian has a question sort of similar to that, but your method seems to be more applicable for socially active folks. Not everyone enjoys being so social. What can lesser social people do?
Um, okay, so there's several ways to build a brand. One is a personal brand. Honestly, it's the easiest way to because like it's you. Like you already are yourself. People want to talk to other humans. Um, but like you can also build a brand based on your book series, characters in your book series, the world of your series. My friend Erin Wright sets everything in her own in the same town. So it's all like she can build from like people voices in the town. This is really hard because you're writers and like they're writing your words. So like I mean I kind of on some level question whether you don't like that stuff because like you're a writer. Like your webs like you're the writer of the book. Like you don't have to write the book. You are telling yourself you're by putting a book out there. You're like, hi, come let me be front and center in your mind for like days, weeks, months on end, and like so maybe you don't like the social part, but like you definitely must like the connection part, right? Because like you want people to read your work and resonate with it and expound on it and like talk to other people about it and like do things. Otherwise, why would you have written the book? You could have done so many other things with your time that are so much more profitable and probably more fun. But yes, I would say I would say like do anthologies or other ways for other partnerships can speak for you, or like start social media. They used to start social media accounts for characters in their world, like things like that.
Yeah, that's great advice. All right. And David, I see you have a hand raised, so let me see if I can ask to unmute you. So I think if you unmute, you should be good to go. Oh, I think you have to unmute, David. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I thought
There
I
we go.
did. This is probably more Lulu capability question. So I have
Okay.
2 books and I'm trying to run kind of a short course with them. It's probably the easiest way to think about it. And I want to know if there's ways for you to send both books to a group of people, what kind of lead time we'd have for that. And then it'd be great if you could do more fulfillment, like if we sent you t-shirts and put that all into a box. Are you willing to do anything like that, or have you considered taking that kind of stuff on? Because it's a good way to upsell not just your book, but if you do it as a course, you can charge a lot more for it and hopefully reach more people. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for the question. I'll answer your first one first. So we do have the capability of placing several orders at once. So if you do need to place an order for one workbook and send it to a class, you can place all of those orders at one time with what we call our order upload tool or order import tool. So you just fill out a spreadsheet and upload it, and you can place all of those at once. That will take about 3 to 5 business days for production time, since everything is
yeah,
printed on demand, and then shipping on top of that. But you can see all those estimates within your dashboard on Lulu. And then as far as t-shirts and extras, something that we think about, but we don't do it right now. The only reason is because we have a global print network. So just consolidating that and being able to standardize that across a global print network is very difficult. So we aren't doing that now, but it doesn't mean that we will never do it. So I
okay,
guess the only way to facilitate that would be order those shirts in bulk, order your books in bulk, and then send them yourself.
great. Okay,
Well, you can
thank you.
also, but like you have like you integrate with websites though, right? Don't you, like certain
Yeah.
processors?
Oh
So
yeah,
like
absolutely.
so like you could have Lulu and Printful as two different like things in your like and like hook the API in for your t-shirts to Printful, or I don't know who Printify. There's
Mhm.
hundreds of them. Redbubble, and then like have like put your other product in with Lulu, and then
Mhm.
like if they buy a shirt and a book, then they like would be sent from two different places, but they would
Yeah,
I could
Yeah.
that is, obviously something that we can do. There's people I've been through a couple similar type courses, and it's kind of nice. They tend to arrive in a box, it's printed and got the branding and all that stuff. So that would be
I know a
cool.
bunch of fulfillment houses though that like you can ship them all there and then they do it for you. Like
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
that's
All right. Well, maybe that's the right idea. So
Yeah.
great. Thank you guys.
It can be done. Yeah, thank you. And Russell, thanks for that layup on there with the Lulu Direct. Yeah, we do offer direct sales and e-commerce integrations as well. So definitely check that out. All right, everybody, we've taken up so much of your time. I appreciate everyone hanging. I don't want to say taken up. I mean, I think this is very worthwhile, but I will do a last call for questions. I know, Russell, one thing. Okay, so you already put the other names in there. Thank you for that. Okay, well,
yeah, I'll say it
Russell,
on, I think we should probably say it on the screen though.
yeah,
So
please.
It's Tom Kugler, Lucy Werner, and Christy Keller. Also, Christy does PA work for Substack, setting up Substacks and such. So like we've used her for certain things. So yeah, I mean, those are the three that I would. And then mine is the author stack if you want to follow mine. I do see something about podcasting.
Oh yes, yeah. Thank you for grabbing that. Yeah. Any feedback on the podcasting, how that fits into
Um,
deep engagement, but terrible for discoverability? What do you think about that?
uh, I mean, we have two podcasts. So one is called the Six Figure Author Experiment, which all y'all should follow. Like it's mine with I run one with Lee Savino, who's a seven-figure author, and we just like literally talk about book launching and what's working and what's not working every week as I live launch this series. The Godsverse Chronicles on retailers. I have another one called Kickstart Your Book Sales, which is nebulously updates sometimes. Usually when we have like usually once a month we will update it. But I mean, I think that the answer is yeah, it's great for engagement. I have 40,000 people on my newsletter and a couple hundred listen to the podcast, maybe. Like it's just not, it's great for discovery, but like it's great for getting people into your ear, into their ear holes and like um get them to like your work. So there's like different things you would do at the people don't know me and need to know me, and then people need to like me, and people need to like. So we call that top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel activities, and like bottom of the funnel activities are ones that are like they would be your offer, like the irresistible offer, the thing that they're buying. And authors are notoriously terrible at this. Like they're like, I got a book, and you're like, okay, it costs money, and you should. And you're like, but like that's not irresistible to me. Like you got to make it like irresistible in some way. And we do that by calling what's called the double 50, which is something that is 50% profit for us and is double the value for as whatever we have it. So if it's like a $10 book, like we want to put $20 of value in there and sell it for $10. And then the top of the funnel activities are like your opt-in offers, your like free books, like your whatever thing you're giving away for free, your cheat sheets, your sample chapters, your bonuses, like that's top of funnel. But like a podcast is great for middle of the funnel activities, webinars, these kind of things where you're spending 30 to 60 minutes with somebody, where like you can get somebody from, okay, cool, I know you. I know a lot of people. Do I like you? Do I trust you? Like, do I want to like hang out with you? So we have like a conference in New Orleans, and like that's a big lift. It's like you guys have to want to spend time with me for like a week in New Orleans to like come to that event, which takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to like make that lift and make people go there. But like once they go, like most of them want to come back. And you're like, okay, so it's like, how do you make it so like you are getting people who know you to like you, or to say absolutely not? Plenty of people on this call, I saw how many people were in at the beginning, are like, absolutely not, Russell. Never gonna, like, I'm not, like, I would never want to hang out with you for 1 second more in my entire life. And that's equally okay. And in fact, my friend said this recently. She said, every time somebody writes a hateful thing about me, I smile because it means someone else is making a wonderful comment about me somewhere else. And like, I know technically the reverse is true, but we're just like, we're not going to think about like when someone writes a nice comment, there's probably an equally horrible comment coming out. But like when you find people that like, when you polarize people and you find the right people that are going to be like, oh my God, where has this been all my life? I want to read all their books. Like, wow, I can join them in New Orleans. Oh my God, they have a mastermind. They have all of these things. Like, and that gets exciting for them. We always think about marketing as like, oh, it's this drag. Like everyone's going to be bummed about like getting the target ads. But guess what? My mother like would get up early and wait for the Sunday like circulars to come in with all of the ads for all of like the groceries. Like she was waiting for it basically all week to do her shopping. And so like even that bit is like a fallacy just because you don't care about those grocery shopping coupons. I'll tell you who does, like a lot of people, otherwise they wouldn't do them. If they could make the same amount of money without ever giving $1 off, they would do that. But like there is a group of people, and in the same way, so if there's a group of people that like those very loud and ugly newspaper adverts, there are also people that are going to love your beautiful marketing. And that's what you're trying to find. Like, who are those people? Who are the people that are going to like be like, yes, Like, where has this been all my life?
Yeah, we always like to say if you know exactly who your book is for, you're helping them by telling them about your book. You're
Right.
not like getting in their face, or it's not gross and salesy. All right. Okay. Well, I think that we have come to the end of it. Thank you for coming on this journey with us. Find Russell at theauthorstack.com. Russell, any closing comments or thoughts or anything else you want to add at the end here?
Yeah, like also come to hang out with us in New Orleans, please. Like Russell, writermba.com/conference. It's a very cool conference, and we look forward to seeing all of you there.
Yeah, I tried to find a quick link for the Godsverse Chronicles, but when you Google Godsverse Chronicles, a lot of other chronicles come up. So,
Sure.
you have to
Yeah.
drop the link for that one. But yeah, find them, join their conference. It's a great ecosystem, a ton of great information. Russell's daily newsletter is very great and very entertaining. I always look forward to it. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate y'all moving platforms with us. You guys really wanted this information, so we appreciate it. We will put it on our YouTube channel. Russell, thank you so much for your time and your problem-solving acumen. And I'll leave it there. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.